Hi there, third attempt. Yes, because I thought I wanted to share a couple more things with you. I have, previous attempts at this, but then I was showing you my pots and pans for making my little vials. I've got a new one. I have done it. I've done another one of these. And I also want to do a bit more of a check-in, on a sort of a milk of human kindness level. It's one of my favorite expressions ever, to sort of also consolidate potentially what I've been talking about. Also to take some of the, if that's possible, some of the heaviness out of all these subjects. I've been, going into some pretty rough, old school, old territory. And of course, a great deal of all that dark stuff really lies in the past. And it's not like it isn't relevant anymore. It's very relevant. But it's not like we are these helpless people who don't know what they're on about anymore. So knowledge is power. Yeah? Okay, so that's what I'm all about anyway. And sort of in the continuation of that, I have shown you, this is going to be a bit of a rambly check-in. So take a seat, get yourself a beverage, and just, I'm going to be in probably talking about things in a slightly more, hopefully a bit more fun and hopefully a bit more of a measured kind of a way, I hope. Anyway, I made this one. I think that's now 2 months ago or so. I have got another one of these that has essential oils in it that I use very regularly. It turns out actually that my formula for the inner other world is a blessing. I'm really surprised. There are also times where I choose not to use it, but both me and my husband have used it on and off, sometimes to great effect, to incorporate self-love basically on a cellular level, if that's a thing, to get yourself to take yourself seriously, basically, and also to counteract, for me certainly, that's why I made it back in I don't know, in May or June somewhere. I made this essential oils formula to prevent myself from going back into the mask mode of, it's fine, everything's fine, when it isn't really. So there's that. I found that really helpful. And there's stages to everything, right? There's always a next step. There's always a next possibility. I'm all about that. So back to this one. This one has mushrooms in it. It turns out that this has this actually a way of working with any type of product that you don't necessarily want to be handling or consuming, or that you can do all sorts of different workings basically, and they would be magical workings if you didn't know how it works really. It depends on what you're sensitive to, whether this is something you enjoy, and so on and so forth. I have found the mushroom one, so this contains Boletus mushroom only, which is an edible mushroom that I've had, harvested and eaten for years now, and in the south of Europe, and particularly in Switzerland, in Germany, in Italy, in France. It's very ordinary and very normal to go into the hills, into the woods, to harvest this type of mushroom. It's the normalest thing you can think of. It's like going to the shop to get whichever, It's so normal. So there's really a bit of a shift in cultures in Europe as to pro or contra mushrooms in food. And nobody minds champignon, the white ones, really, the regular type that everybody, that's grown, of course, and cultivated by people that's different. That's supposed to be really different. I'm all about also making use of wild products or wild harvests if that's possible. And you of course have to be responsible. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be sure that this is the right type of boletus. So, but it's not impossible to learn. And if it's your thing, go ahead, I say. Just go ahead, find out, use your senses, use your sense of smell. There's loads of good channels also on YouTube about like Wild Food UK, for example. They're a great channel. They have lots of different, videos about different types of boletus mushrooms, and also of other kinds, and of other kinds of food. So herbs and plants and all that. So, but for this, I just wanted to try this out and see whether it would be possible for me or anybody else, like my husband, for example, to pick up on the energetic vibrational properties of the mushroom in this way. And we have not used this very often, but it does have a really warming, grounding effect that is kind of subtle and kind of rather different from the obsidians and the smoky quartzes and whatever I've got here. I've got my whole setup here. I should show you my setup with my crystals because it's quite cute, I think. See, I have this little oval serving plate, I think it is, or a plate to present a large crowd of people with cookies. Well, in this case, it's only me and man, about the house sometimes, and a large pile of crystals. So there's my septarian right here. There's my obsidian wand. There's another really cool, interesting obsidian shard, black obsidian, probably worked at some point. I inherited that piece and I haven't connected it with it yet, but I may soon. Smoky quartz. I don't know what these are called in English. There's always a set of two of these. They're called Witchy stones on this side of the water. And an Apache tear, obsidian, snowflake obsidian, and a petersite. That's actually a pendant that I may choose to wear at some time soon. And here's the other one of the Witchies that's a lot more crusty on the outside. They're also fantastic for grounding. So all this is one way of, working with having crystals around the house. I've kind of set this up to have this sort of a bubble of a grounding and definitely a calming effect in my living room, in my work area where I sit actually most of the time. So this boletus flask might actually go in there really easily, and then I suppose the vibration like so would change ever so slightly. It's all this is a really interesting experience. The reason why I'm coming back to all this now is that I made just now this one, and it contains dried wild orchid flowers that I harvested about a month ago, and I had left them out here and I'd gone on a holiday, and they were actually dried out quite a bit and they didn't have any fragrance left, and I was actually going to just throw them in the fireplace and forget about it until potentially next year. And I was halfway through the room and I went with this in my hand, with the dried flowers, that is, in a paper handkerchief, and I went like, okay, maybe I shouldn't throw this away now, because maybe, I should still. And so I sort of did a left turn, got out my mortar and ground them up for a bit. And there was a bit of resin residue, yes, in the bottom of the mortar. So there will be some juniper berry mixture in there, and maybe a bit of church incense or something like that, frankincense. But that doesn't really matter, I think. Also, I might, at some point be able to figure out what the difference is in the vibrations. I haven't so far. So this is just me experimenting. Sorry for the noise. I'm going to close the door. Yes, that makes a bit of a difference. I've closed the door and closed the little ventilation things over there. They're replacing the roofs on the houses over that side. And there's a whole row of houses and another row on this side, another row on that side, and they're taking forever. And it's a lot of noise, but I shouldn't complain because most times it doesn't bother me. Okay, so the thing then is, of course, I'm taking out my boletus again. That's what I always do basically, is to sit with this, both of these, because they have different components. So shouldn't I then be able to feel a difference between them? And that takes some time, of course, and I haven't done this yet before coming on here with you guys to show you what I'm on about, also because, you know, what with all the difficulties and all the problems, I do have more plans for more psychological stuff on my channel as well, but I also realized that I really do want to do a bit more witchy stuff and stuff like this, and I have sort of managed to you know, pick a rune. Basically, I'm quite a bit into my rune connection over here. I have been picking cards. I'm still working with my Kazanlar tarot that I enjoy immensely. It's really worthwhile. This is my card for the day, the star card. This is just my cardboard version of the Kazanlar, you know. For more intel on that, it's in the channel somewhere. I have been struck at how versatile these cards are, and I love this deck, and I love working with this type of, you know, process. Making them is fun, and they're actually quite usable. It's possible to use this deck in this way. I've also used my soul cards again, gotten them out again, just similarly as to how you would pick a 3-card draw, for example. I've used the soul cards in that way. I've gotten some really beautiful cards, and this one came out that I really enjoy today a lot somehow, and this one. So yeah, it's important for me to have this also, because what with the 3rd card was this one, so that's also really beautiful, right? What with tarot sometimes being a bit on the, I don't know, less personal side somehow, to me it feels that way sometimes, that tarot can be really, which is probably maybe why we also love oracle cards so much, because it's freer than tarot, and it isn't as tarot has been around for such a long time, you know, that type of thing. I don't know, I'm not making any sense here, I think. Anyway, I'm enjoying my cards. I'm also enjoying my runes again. I've had support from my runes, yes, which is excellent to be saying, because yesterday when I did those 2 humongous vlogs, or one humongous and one fairly, you know, decent one, about living with the lost twin effect, or the lost twin experience for so long, I had pulled the horse rune, the Eichvar, which is how I pronounce it. I've learned this in Germanics class on university ages ago, so my pronunciation of the rune names is going to be different from everybody else's, I think. And it doesn't mean that I'm right and they're wrong or any of it. It's different, okay? Let's just not worry about that too much. As far as I'm concerned, it's the horse rune, and it means getting going, getting getting the show on the road, like I always say. I might even consider linking it up with my circus past, like going back a yay number of centuries, not centuries, not that much, a yay number of generations back in time on my dad's side, back to the circus family who used to work with horses all the time. And I'm quite fond of horses. I'm quite fond of many animals, really. So I don't know. It's not. It's somewhere in my awareness that a horse is a great force to have with you, right? So that was yesterday. I got a lot of stuff done. I did a couple of other things. Watched other videos. I watched all this. I'll put a link in the description. Jennifer Pearson did another series of videos using art history tarot for past lives. So that was really interesting. There's a series of 4 videos, I think, where she shows how she worked with that deck. And it was a bit confusing to her and not very conclusive, maybe, in some effects, or maybe it would be conclusive to other people watching her, her spreads and her cards. What else did I do? I did a bit of housework as well. So I was content. I'm quite pleased with the level of work I can get done, even when things can be, tough in my life. I can still manage to shift my focus. And I think that's really important to also at some point just withdraw from when you've achieved or managed a certain level of being present with a situation. Then it is time to move on, right? So today I had yet another new rune. I've drawn sort of a daily rune, except that there have been days where I've forgotten or I just wasn't at home or any of it. For the past month or so, I've really enjoyed getting back in touch with my runes again, and I feel like I've got more of a connection with them also because some runes keep popping out. I've had the Odal rune quite a number of times. So, for example, and what else is there? What else can I say? The Need rune, the Man rune has come out several times. And yeah, so it's like the runes are really responding to me as well. So that's cool. I'm using my mom's wooden rune set and they look like this. This is cypress wood. I will do the trick now where you can see the thing, hopefully in there somewhere. This is hard trying to show you. And this is what the backs look like. This is cypress wood that my mom made these when she was still alive. And because my ceramic ones that I made were, in danger of falling apart, I decided not to use them anymore. I want to refire them in the fireplace at some point. I will have to do that. But these will do just fine. And this is a Ken rune, Kauner, depending on which language you're using in which period you're placing them. And it's one of the really mysterious runes as to its significance. I think that together with the Need rune, Need as in N-I-D, like that, those 2 runes are really representative of the fire element in our lives. And whereas the Need rune to me has a strong connotation of what I'm reminded of now, and it is also what the meaning of the rune is supposed to represent often, as is in the Lord of the Rings movies. There's this point, I think in the 3rd series, the 3rd movie of the series. I'm looking for the title. The Return of the King. Is that it? I think so. There's this point where they're lighting fires on top of the mountains, and each time there's a next mountain that you see a fire being lit in the distance, and the message of the need of Gondor, you know, for the help of the Rohirrim, right there you go, is being communicated in that way. So that's really a need fire. To me, it has to do. I don't suppose I've really worked out my relationship with all these meanings in a great level of detail yet. I am working on it. I'm processing this stuff much more nowadays, and I'm kind of telling, as with this, there's a difference between the need rune and the ken rune. And the ken rune would also, to me, it's like an instant recognition of something, or like, so I don't know what that's going to do today, whether there's going to be an instant insight in something. That's a possibility. I haven't had this one in my draw series yet so far, so we will see what that does. It's a good energy to have. I associate it also with light in the dark much more than the need fire. The need fire rune is like, what do you need? What is crucial and elementary for you in your life? That's what I think of when I look at the need rune. The ken rune is more like also a sense of, you know, carrying your own torch and just standing for yourself, and in a sense being a sovereign, or attempting, which is the only thing really we can do, okay? Attempting at being a sovereign human being for as long as you can. Coming back to these two guys, I'm trying to just, you know, pick up the vibrations and talk at the same time. Probably what I'm feeling now isn't, I'm not in tune enough, really. I can tell there is a difference between them, but it may also be that I just know they're different, right? So I will get back to you about this. I will stick them both in my grounding display here and see whether that does anything. Yeah, so I suppose here goes. Lots of drawing other good things to myself also, and sharing that with you guys. That's what I want here. So thank you for watching. This was just a mini check-in with bits and herbs and mushrooms. I will be doing a flycap mushroom version of those, and then I will show it to you and see whether I've got to say about that, okay? Because it's an easy and a safe way to handle the flycap mushroom without, you know, getting any hallucino weirdness, trippy weirdness, okay? So I will be back before that, because the flycaps aren't around yet. More cooler air and darker, longer nights are needed. See you soon. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.